Hello folks, today is demo day and I would like to show you the actual state of the workflow component that I'm trying to put inside the React SDK so that user can use it outside of the playground. And what you see right now on the screen is a bunch of different step node cards that are built on top of primitives. And those primitives are basically composable, so you can add more information than the one on the screen, you can replace some elements or whatever. So it looks like this in the code, so this one is not actually the one that I want. It looks like this in the code. You have a step card, step header, step status, step title, step timer in some situation, step content, step action. If you don't want a step actions, you can just remove them and the card will look like this, which is pretty convenient if the user wants to customize or to create their own workflow card. And they are not forced to use those actually, they can build their own, but those are primitives to build this sort of UI. And if you assemble all of them in an actual really complex workflow, it looks like this. So you have parallel nodes, you have conditional nodes, you have nodes without a description, you have suspended nodes, and etc. and etc. And so that's the building blocks for creating the dynamic workflow execution. So right now I would like to show you how we could display a dynamic workflow execution inside an agent thread that is not inside the playground, which is in a Next.js application, and I'm using the React SDK in this Next.js application. So for this example, I'm having the master playground running and I'm using this chef agent v2 model, and I'm going to trigger this workflow recipe maker thing. So I'm going to open my Next.js application and I'm going to say, hey, call the workflow recipe maker tool with tomato. Let's be very explicit just so it works. And now you see a dynamic workflow execution. So the first step has been updated, the second one will be updated, text will stream right after. And there we are. So all of this comes from the React SDK. This is a greenfield React Next.js application. And yeah, that's how it looks like. Now, how it works. If I go to my page example, this is the same application that I've used last week. So we have the message list. In the case we know that the information we got back from the server is a text, we just show the text, which accumulates and stream. This is the text that you've seen accumulating on the screen. If we have a dynamic tool call, if it starts with workflow, we show the workflow execution. Otherwise, we just show a regular tool call with input and output. And if I jump on this specific component, I'm seeing that I have an entity trigger, and entity content, which is basically, I need to scroll up, which is basically this button and this block of information. Entry is this one, entry is this one. So entry, entry. And so in the workflow result, this is where I'm displaying the dynamic workflow execution. And the interesting part here is that my workflow component, the dynamic one, only accepts two arguments. One, which is the workflow, because I need the definition of the workflow to display the steps the sooner. And then I need a partial or a complete workflow result, which correspond to a workflow state during this specific run. And so this one can be partial, and this is why you can see the thing animating on the screen. And by default, this workflow component will display a default node that I've created here using the primitives that I've showed you before. So it will use this default node component, but a user can enhance that or modify that by just using a syntax like this, and you can basically do whatever you want. So I can do props.data dot something will step.id or something like this, and it will just show the step ID. So if I just do that, I will not have anything to the screen because this is not how this chart works, but you should probably put some interesting information here. So yeah, that's the demo for this one. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye bye.